Subaltern Studies approach to nationalism. What is it that even though they are trying to write an history from below, they are not able to bring the issue of caste and lower caste movements into the work in a useful way?
You see, Subaltern Studies movement, is addressed better as a subject of sociology of knowledge, how a particular academic school sets itself with a crisis of historiography. In fact, my own approach while studying, writing this nationalism has been to give a full credit to the very first article in that book, in that series. This is Ranajit Guha's article, which is some 7-8 pages, where he very accurately focused on the problem of the failure of the nation to emerge, which simply meant the failure to hegemonize, that is, bring within the hegemonic politics the aspirations of the subaltern movements and their aspirations, etc. But once having said that, what has happened was, from ever since the actual studies started, most of them have been, one thing is micro, without showing much implications for the larger social formation that was taking place. Secondly, there seems to be some kind of, a deafening silence, like on the question of caste. Obviously, they have reached the very dead end of analysis on class, and they are looking out for another anchoring point, and also seem to be an equal concern not to land in caste. This is this I say simply because there is such a lacuna all across, except maybe one or two later, much later included, Bandhavadhyay's article and so on. But generally speaking, they have turned a blind eye to the culture-specific subalternity. But this is what I call. There are subalternities everywhere of all kinds and all formations. But for a society, in order to run in a kind of manageably smooth way, all the subalternities and hegemony on the other side coalesce into some kind of accommodative subaltern cultural formation. And that point with regard to the subcontinental society has been on the fault line of caste, understood in an ideological sense. And this has been continuously being pointed out in all the economic studies, sociological studies, and even political studies, etc. But history somehow has chosen to say that caste is a local problem, caste is a micro problem, it does not have any political repercussions and political implications and so on. And it is very easy to say that most of the authors of subaltern studies are of a particular group from a particular region and particular kind of social scale and so on, and that would be true. But then beyond all this, there seems to be a kind of resistance to bring in caste, except by way of studying, for example, Dalit atrocities as and when they happen, or an untouchability, untouchability formulated in the most literal sense by the nationalist leaders and so on. There has been a national consensus on how to look at caste. Which means caste itself has nothing to do with equality or inequality. Caste has over the years acquired certain discriminatory tendencies like untouchability, and once those untouchability aspects have been taken care of, then caste is one of our own invention, our own social synthesis, and there's nothing wrong in being a caste society and so on. This is roughly the nationalist concern. Nationalist concern, the same nationalist concern gets transferred into the academic paradigm mainly through history. Mainly through history. History departments are the guardians of the nationalist repository. And so it is very difficult to introduce caste and all that within historical paradigms and academic frameworks. And unfortunately, these subaltern studies, instead of looking for the subalterns in a more straightforward and a transparent way, has set up subalternities, searched for and set up subalternities in all corners of the countries in order to avoid the most obvious subaltern pattern of subalternity that was sort of almost striking in the face. And so in that sense, I feel this is mostly a political exercise. Political exercise. And despite the fact that this comes as a huge challenge located from various well-known institutional locations across the world, in which case the dilemma is whether it is power or knowledge that is being being offered through this. I mean, there are some individual articles, I have no problem about this. When you are talking about subaltern studies, what goes mainly as the bulk and the determining bulk, this is what I mean. And more particularly, the later half of the subaltern studies have been increasingly shifted the problem outside the Indian subcontinent as a post-colonial studies. That we are all subalterns vis-a-vis the colonizers, and that is the more important agenda rather than look for the subalterns within the subcontinent. And this thing has come about simply because the original volumes, the beginning volumes of subaltern studies, have not been rooted into the actual subalternity of the masses, which is meaning caste subalternity. So it could easily be hijacked from focusing on the internal dissensions, internal subalternities, etc. Now we have landed with post-colonial subalternity, where we are all concerned about the relations between Indian subcontinent as a whole with its former colonizers. This I feel is a 100% U-turn from the original agenda of Ranajit Guha. In fact, in case I get a chance to meet him, I would like to ask him about that. You started saying that the agenda of subaltern studies is the failure of the nation to emerge, and the responsibility placed squarely on the hegemonic classes within the subcontinent. Now we have come to a stage where subalternity is seen as a post-colonial character, determining the relationship between colonized and the colonizer. Anyway, this is the fate of the academic movement.